One of the fundamental aspects of Pokemon Go for the past several years, and probably is the backbone for why people continue to play this game, is without question raid battles. And I kind of want to highlight raid battles in a video because I feel like for a lot of people, if the raid boss is not relevant, they just simply do not care about the game in general. And I think this is something that both Scopely and Niantic Games needs to cultivate, because in the future, if raid battles becomes obsolete, then players are no longer going to play this game. Alright, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So the reason why I'm making this discussion video is because today I spent some time going out and raiding Blastophilon in raid battles, and the reason why I did that is because I desperately want the shiny form for this particular Pokemon. It's one of my favorite Ultra Beasts, and on top of that, it has a really cool shiny form, and to get myself a Shundo of a Blastophilon, that is definitely the dream. And I have to say that because I've been raiding Blastophilon continuously, I've ended up spending a lot of the stockpiled Pokecoins that I've had on raid passes, and overall my engagement with Pokemon Go has skyrocketed. And I really do think there is a correlation there. If people are interested in a raid boss, then you're going to see that more people are going to be playing the game. Blastophilon may not necessarily be top tier when it comes to raid battles or PvP. It's certainly up there as a good raid attacker, but not a lot of players are going to go all out on getting this Pokemon. But for a player like me who wants the shiny form, yeah, it's definitely going to cause me to do a whole bunch more raids than I typically do. And I think this is something that Niantic and Scopely need to realize when it comes to Pokemon Go. Raiding is the backbone for this game, and there's nothing they can do to change it. When it comes to raid battles, it's basically the lifeblood of Pokemon Go. If they were to do something to raids, it's essentially going to affect the game as a whole. And I think this is a very important fact, because back in the day when we had remote raid passes be a lot cheaper and without any limitations, you saw that players were just actively playing this game. There was no question about it. People were loving Pokemon Go. They were playing it just non-stop around the clock. But ever since Niantic nerfed remote raid passes, you saw a drastic decline in player engagement. And I think this is a very key fact, because if Scopely Inc. were to come over and take over Pokemon Go, and if they were to unnerf remote raids as the first order of business, you would definitely see a huge spike in player engagement. And I totally understand the sentiment that the reason why they wanted to nerf remote raids is simply for longevity purposes, but I think that is just a fallacy. I think what they should have done is completely change the way the incentive structures work rather than, nerfing a core aspect of the game. Because as of right now, it's just really difficult to get players on board with like a big raid group. I think the only time I see my local communities really come out to do raid battles is during Wednesday raid hours. And aside from that, you really don't see the groups like you used to back in the day. And it really comes down to player enthusiasm being drastically low nowadays, because Niantic has done so many things over the years that really hinders a positive raiding experience. Sure, they have actually changed a lot of things for the better, and I will give them that. There's a lot of quality of life improvements that they've done to raids over the years, and in general, raiding right now, even if you do it in person, does feel a lot better from when raids were first introduced. But at the same time, I do feel like they could do a lot more. I think what they should do at the very least is unnerf remote raids, make them a lot cheaper, make it so that you could do more of them per day. And I do think with that, you're going to see a lot of people be active in Pokemon Go once again. One thing I do want to mention is that when it comes to the raiding scene, I think this is something that Niantic has failed to cultivate over the years. I think they were really sitting on a gold mine when it comes to the raiding community of Pokemon Go. You saw a lot of people grouping up, there was definitely a sense of community, you saw Wafu raiding being a big thing, and Niantic hasn't really done much with that over the years. Like, there were so many things that worked out really well when it came to raid battles. Like, for example, raid days were a big deal. Like, it was basically a way for players to have more of a scheduled event where they could get together with friends and do a whole bunch of raids. And of course, Wednesday raid hours was also a big deal, and they haven't really done much with them. And I really do think that if Niantic wants to see long-term success with Pokemon Go, they really need to relook at how they do events themed around raids. Because if you think about it, like Pokemon Go Fest and Go Tour, what are the major highlights of those events? It's the raiding content. A lot of people actively engage during those events because the raiding is typically really good. You have around the clock raids, you have very special raid bosses like fusions and mega evolutions, and a lot of people just love the raiding content. That usually is the major highlight of all of these major events. Like every single Pokemon Go Fest that I ever attended, whether it be the global version or the in-person version, it's always been about the raiding. Like last year with Pokemon Go Fest, everyone was going out and doing Necrozma raids, and it was such a really good time. And this most recent big event with the Go Tour event, it was all about the fusion forms for Kyurem. That was one of the major things that a lot of players focused on. It really comes down to raiding. Raiding is everything in Pokemon Go. And something that I'm really hoping for is that when Scopely Inc. start development of Pokemon Go, that they're going to over-cultivate Pokemon Go's raiding scene. That's probably the best move that they could do. So if you happen to be watching this, if you're someone high up in Scopely Inc. and you're looking for the right formula for making Pokemon Go much better than it currently is, and something that's going to drive up a lot of revenue and a lot of engagement, it really comes down to raiding. Raiding is everything, and I really do hope that for the future of Pokemon Go, we're just going to continue to see vast improvements. We're going to see a lot more stuff done for raiding, and we're going to have a game studio that actually cares more about the player experience rather than collecting location-based data. And thankfully, because Scopely Inc. is now the developers of Pokemon Go, they probably do not have to care about that anymore, because Niantic is separating themselves from all of that user data mumbo jumbo, and that has been probably the biggest roadblock for a much better gaming experience for the past several years. Anything Niantic ever did, it was for the sake of collecting user data when it comes to location and AR-based gameplay. But now that those things are no longer an issue, Niantic could focus on all the things that players would actually want, like unnerfing remote raids, having a more remote experience. I think that sort of stuff is definitely going to go a long way. And hopefully we're going to see some of those changes, and Pokemon Go is going to be much better because of it. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Do you feel like raiding is a core aspect of Pokemon Go? Or do you completely disagree with me and you feel like raiding is actually not essential for Pokemon Go's success and it's really something else? If that is your opinion, I would like to know your reasons for thinking that, and make sure you share it down below in the comment section so that we can have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that notification bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the best way you can do that is going to be by joining my Patreon. And if you become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list. So that means for stuff like remote raids, the friendship system, opening and sending gifts. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you're always welcome to do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, and love yourself today, and I'll catch you all later.